Over 1,000 years ago, in the forests of ancient Japan, a humble bamboo cutter found something so magical, it changed his life forever. But before we begin, if you're drawn to stories with mystery, meaning, and the otherworldly, to legends passed down as truth, then this is the channel for you. I share new stories each week, drawn from folklore, forgotten history, and strange events that linger at the edge of belief. So tap the like button and subscribe with all notifications on so you never miss what's next. Let's begin. Long ago, in the mountains of Japan, a bamboo cutter and his wife lived in a small home at the forest's edge. Now, they were not able to have children, but they had always longed for a daughter, a quiet wish that lingered in their hearts. Now, one morning, as mist curled low across the slopes, the cutter set off for a day's work to gather bamboo near his home. The forest was still and damp, and there was this rich scent of moss and earth in the air. Then he noticed something unusual. A single stalk standing straighter and greener than the rest, almost as if some sort of hidden light was shining right on it. Now, drawn closer, he saw it shimmering faintly. With careful hands, he split the stalk, and suddenly, this warm glow poured forth, so bright and pure that he had to shield his eyes before he dared to look inside. Now, when he did look inside, he saw a little girl, only a few inches tall. Her skin was luminous and warm, as if holding the very essence of the light that had spilled from the stalk. He stared in wonder, scarcely daring to breathe, then reached in and gently lifted her into his palm. Cradling her with the utmost care, he carried her back to show his wife. Tears filled their eyes when they realized what this could mean. This was an answer to the longing they had carried for so many years. They fashioned a small bed with a lacquered box lined with silk, placed it near the warmth of the fire, and cared for her tenderly, as if she had always been their own. They decided to give her a name worthy of the wonder she brought into their lives. They called her Kaguya, a name that means radiant or shining, for the light that had spilled from the bamboo when she appeared. It spoke not only of her unusual beauty, but of the joy and hope she brought into their once quiet home. From that day on, fortune followed them. Each time he cut bamboo near his house, gold and jewels tumbled from the stalks. This made them a minor fortune from these treasures. Within 3 months, the tiny child had grown into a young woman of such beauty that word of her spread across the land. Soon, the wealthiest and most powerful men in the country began arriving at their doorstep. 5 noble suitors each sought her hand. She refused all of them, unless they could bring her treasures that no man could easily find. The first was told to bring the Buddha's stone begging bowl from India. He returned with an old temple relic, but it failed to glow as the real one should. The second was sent to fetch a branch from the jeweled tree on Mount Horai, but he brought an ornate forgery exposed by a local craftsman. The third was tasked with finding the fireproof robe of the legendary fire rat, but what he returned with burned to ash when tested in the flames. The fourth was told to find the rainbow jewel from the dragon's head in the ocean. He nearly drowned by storms at sea and returned empty-handed. The fifth was told to search for a rare iridescent shell said to be found only within the stomach of a swallow, but despite countless nets and traps, he never found it. Her refusals, bold, even against men of great power, drew the attention of someone greater still, the emperor. But instead of summoning her, the emperor was deeply intrigued by this woman who had turned away even the most powerful of noblemen. He decided that he would need a different tactic than the others. Disguising himself as a simple hunter, he rode with a small party into her village, blending in among ordinary travelers. One afternoon, as he moved quietly through the bamboo grove near their house, Pretending to be on a hunt, he came upon Kaguya and her father gathering bamboo shoots. He struck up a friendly conversation, asking about the grove and their work. Her father, pleased by his manner, invited the wary hunter back into their home to rest and share some tea. To her, he was a quiet traveler with kind eyes. To him, she was unlike anyone he had ever met, graceful, intelligent, but with a guarded sadness he could not name. He returned again and again, each time finding a reason to pass by the bamboo grove or stop at their home. But unlike other men who tried to impress her with costly gifts, he brought her carefully written poems, each one capturing some small detail about her that he had noticed. Sometimes he shared stories from his travels or rare flowers he had picked along the way. She would smile at these gestures, accepting them quietly. Yet her gaze would often drift, as though she was listening to something only she could hear. As the Mid-Autumn Festival approached, her father received an imperial invitation explaining that the palace wished to honor several local families for their contributions to the region's prosperity, and his recent generosity in sharing wealth from his bamboo harvest had earned him a place among them. Believing this to be the reason, the family was overjoyed at the rare honor. On the day of the festival, Kaguya dressed in her finest silk, her hair carefully arranged with combs and pins. They joined a long line of local families waiting to be honored, mingling among the crowd with quite excitement. Suddenly, a royal court official in ornate dress appeared with a small escort, his voice ringing out for all to hear as he proclaimed how honored the palace was to welcome Kaguya and her family. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the line as he ushered them forward, past other families who stared with curiosity and surprise, wondering who they were and why they were being taken to the inner chambers. The official moved quickly, almost ceremoniously, guiding them through one tall gate after another, each guarded and firmly closed to those behind. With every gate, the crowd's noise faded, replaced by the stillness of corridors lined with lanterns and gardens hidden from the public view. Until at last, they stepped into the grand audience hall. Kaguya's eyes swept across the vast, shimmering room, then froze. Seated upon the throne, dressed in full imperial robe, was the hunter. The emperor rose and ordered the hall to be cleared, leaving only Kaguya. He stepped forward slowly, his gaze never leaving hers. From the first moment I saw you in the grove, I sensed something rare, a grace and strength unlike any I had known, he began. I have thought of you in the quiet of night and in the press of the day, wondering who you truly are and wishing to know every part of your heart. He paused, his voice softening. I do not wish to simply honor you from afar. I want to walk beside you, to make your joys and burdens my own. Before she could speak, though, the ground shuddered beneath them. An earthquake. The tremor was followed by a low, rolling thunder that seemed to come from the sky above. Then, the doors burst open and a royal guard hurried in, his face pale as he bowed quickly before the emperor and reported the chaos unfolding outside. Without hesitation, they rushed from the hall to see for themselves. And there, in the courtyard, a silver cloud was descending from the sky, carrying tall, armored figures. The emperor's guards scrambled to defend the palace, but the intruders moved with ease, brushing the soldiers aside without harm. He seized Kaguya's hand. We must hide you. She stopped. Her voice was calm. You cannot hide me. They are here for me. He turned, confusion giving way to disbelief. I am not of this world, she said. I was born on the moon. I was sent here in exile, accused of stealing something sacred, the elixir of life. They searched for it, never found it. She pressed something into his palm, a small, sealed vial glowing faintly. I have kept it hidden all this time. Now it belongs to you. Tell no one, Not your court, not your people. If they knew, take it. As the moon warriors advanced, a dazzling light poured from them, so brilliant it forced everyone in the courtyard, including the emperor himself, to shield their eyes and sink to their knees. The air shimmered with their radiance, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Slowly, they stepped forward through the stunned assembly, and with ceremonial care, placed a robe of silver thread upon Kaguya's shoulders. The weight of human sorrow seemed to lift from her face. "When you gaze at the moon," she said softly, "know that I will be looking back." Light swelled around her, and in an instant, she was gone, carried into the chariot, rising into the night sky until she vanished into the full moon's glow. That night, the emperor was devastated. The thought of endless years stretching before him without her presence felt like a hollow, unbearable eternity. Though he had the elixir that could offer him immortality, once treasured as the greatest of gifts, it seemed instead to be a prison if he could not share it with her. Restless and grief-stricken, he wandered the palace until he found himself back in the moonlit courtyard where they had last stood together. There, under the same silver light that had taken her away, he knelt and began to write a farewell letter, his brush lingering over every character as though each could reach her across the impossible distance. The next day, he summoned a small trusted group under the pretense of a ceremonial journey to the highest mountain near the palace. No one knew his true reason. At the summit, while his entourage prepared the rites, he stepped alone to the crater's edge. For a moment he stood there, gazing into the swirling mist below, the cold wind tugging at his robes. In a long, steady breath, whispered his goodbye into the wind, and wrapped the letter around the vial and cast both into the depths. Smoke rose, which can still be seen today, curling from the mountain's high peak, drifting upward to mingle with the clouds, carrying his message toward the moon for all eternity. From that day forth, the mountain was called Mount Fuji, a name that sounds like Fuji, meaning immortal or never dying, chosen to honor the emperor's act. Stories like this remind us that even the most beautiful gifts in life can come with an unseen cost, and that love, however deep, is sometimes bound by forces beyond our control. It's about treasuring the moments we are given, because nothing, not even the Emperor of Japan, can hold back time, fate, or the pull of another world. Now, before you go, if you'd like to see more stories like this and are willing to help me grow the channel, make sure you like this video and check that you're subscribed with all notifications on. Also, please leave a comment, even just a smiley face, which helps boost it in the algorithm. But to really help grow the channel, sharing these videos with friends and family not only introduces new people to these tales, it signals that the channel is worth recommending, and YouTube will push it to an even wider audience. I love telling these stories, but for me to continue, the channel needs to grow, and you are part of that growth. Every share, like, and comment gives me the chance to bring more of these tales to life. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.